What do you get when a mayor treats your tax dollars like her personal piggy bank? In the case of Tiffany Henyard, you get a budget buried under vague entries, bloated numbers, and a whole lot of miscellaneous spending no one can seem to explain. One line item alone, $65,000, was labeled simply as miscellaneous expenses. No breakdown, no receipts, just a mystery. And when people asked questions, she brushed them off with, "It's 4 things I want to do downtown." What? Kind of things exactly. Well, how about luxury wigs, rumored to cost over $1,200, streetlight banners with her face on every pole, and contractors who never got paid for any of it? This isn't just sloppy bookkeeping. It's a pattern, one that raises serious questions about how public money is being handled and whether anyone is watching. So today, we're digging into the black hole of Tiffany Henyard's budget, the vague, the unexplained, and the downright shady. Because when everything's marked miscellaneous, where did the money actually go? Let's start with one of the biggest red flags in Tiffany Henyard's budget, a quiet little entry labeled miscellaneous expenses. Sounds harmless, right? Just a flexible pot of money for emergencies or last-minute needs. But in Henyard's version of public finance, miscellaneous meant $65,000 with 0 documentation, 0 receipts, and 0 oversight. No one really knew what the money was for. It wasn't itemized, categorized, or even hinted at. It was just there. A lump sum of taxpayer dollars buried in the ledger with nothing but the word miscellaneous stamped across it like a blank check waiting to be cashed. When questioned, Henyard's response was almost laughably vague. She said it was for something I want to do downtown, not a project name, not a plan, not even a general theme like public safety, beautification, or community outreach. Just something. In any other municipality, this would be an immediate audit trigger. In government finance, funds must be traceable, accountable, and publicly justifiable. That's how corruption is prevented, through transparency and structure. When a mayor casually allocates tens of thousands of dollars to a line item with no purpose, that's not flexibility, that's financial fog. And Henyard's explanation makes it worse, not better. Because she's not even pretending this was. For the public good, she's openly admitting the money was at her discretion. For whenever she personally felt like doing something in town, imagine if any mayor in the country said, "Oh yeah, I gave myself $65,000. Just in case I get an idea." The media would explode. The auditors would swarm. But in Dalton, it just passed quietly until now. The problem here isn't just about vague entries. It's about a pattern of behavior where public money is casually shuffled around, untracked, as if it belongs to a private individual and not the people who pay taxes in that village. And if you're wondering whether this $65K mystery ever got solved, it didn't. No one's been able to trace what exactly was done with that money. No receipts have been produced, no vendors confirmed, and absolutely no accountability shown. But that money didn't just vanish into a spreadsheet. It showed up in some very unexpected places. Drive through Dalton, and it's hard to miss the streetlight banners. Nearly every pole is draped with Tiffany Henyard's smiling face, as if she's running a one-woman campaign in a town that's already elected her. But those banners didn't hang themselves. They were designed, printed, and installed by someone. The only question is, who paid for them? Well, if you look back at the budget, there's no official line item for a village-wide banner campaign, no documentation for branding, no marketing budget labeled mayoral promotion. So where did the money come from? That's where things start to smell like a miscellaneous mystery, because while Tiffany Henyard insists her budget is in order, vendors tell a different story. Several companies, including the ones believed to have made and hung those massive banners, have claimed they were never paid. They completed the work, sent the invoices, and then crickets. No check, no follow-up, nothing. One vendor reportedly said they were promised payment through a special fund, only to later find out that fund wasn't real. Another said they were instructed to invoice the village, but no payment ever came. And since these purchases weren't listed under any normal departmental budget, it's widely believed they were shuffled under the vague, all-purpose miscellaneous expenses line. But here's the kicker: you can't just make purchases for vanity projects, hide them under a fake category, and then skip the payment, especially not when it's public money. That's not poor management. That's financial manipulation. So how does this happen? It's simple, by intentionally leaving things vague. A miscellaneous budget gives cover for spending that wouldn't hold up under scrutiny. If these banners had been openly proposed with vendor names, costs, and justification, they might have been voted down or questioned, but tucked into a gray area. They slip by until someone starts asking why the workers haven't been paid. And it's not just unethical, it's also embarrassing. Imagine hiring people to promote your image all over town and then stiffing them. The same face that's printed on the banner becomes a symbol of the debt hanging over the village. But as shameless as it sounds, we're just getting warmed up, because if you think that's bad, wait till you hear what may have gone on her head. Now let's talk about the most infamous accessory in Dalton the wig. Not just any wig, but a $1,200 fishing wire disaster that had people wondering whether it came from a stylist or a Halloween clearance rack. Thin, patchy, and painfully overpriced, this wig became an internet punchline. But the real scandal? Rumors claim the village paid for it. You read that right. In a town with unpaid vendors, crumbling trust, and slashed department budgets, it's alleged that Tiffany Henyard managed to slide a luxury wig onto the taxpayer tab. No official receipt has surfaced, but that's the whole point of a miscellaneous fund, isn't it? It's the perfect hiding spot. That $65,000 budget black hole didn't come with receipts, vendor names, or even vague categories. It just sat there unmonitored, unexplained, and ripe for abuse. When you don't have to explain what the money's for, it can go anywhere. Even, apparently, on your head. And Henyard, she's not exactly denying it. She hasn't addressed it at all. No clarification, no financial breakdown, not even an attempt to mock the rumor. Just silence, the kind that says, yeah, and what about it? The wig's existence isn't just about poor fashion choices. It's a symbol of the ego running. This administration, when someone allegedly uses village funds for personal cosmetics and doesn't even try to hide it, that's not sloppy governance. That's pure arrogance. Think about it. Henyard slashed the communication team's budget by $12,000. But there's room for vanity banners and luxury lace fronts. Street poles get covered in her face. Vendors don't get paid. But the one thing that gets handled with care is her wig. We joke about the fishing wire because what else can you do when things get this ridiculous? But behind the laughter is a serious problem. No checks, no balances, and no shame. That wig Matov cost $1,200. But it says something priceless about how this administration views money as a tool for self-promotion, not public service, and still no one's held accountable. And while she's busy spending like a queen, how do her budgets compare to other mayors? Let's take a look. In most towns, miscellaneous doesn't mean mystery. It means a small pool of funds with clearly defined boundaries, approval processes, and itemized spending. But Dalton, under Tiffany Henyard, it's like monopoly money, and she's the only one holding the dice. Let's do a little compare and contrast. Take a look at similarly sized towns across Illinois. For example, Bellwood population around 18,000, just like Dalton. Their entire discretionary budget, a modest $15,000, with strict council oversight and routine reporting. Each expenditure is logged, documented, and publicly accessible. No guesswork, no ghost line items, and definitely no wigs. Then there's Blue Island, also in the same population. Bracket their mayor's office gets around $20,000 in flexible funds, and even that requires board approval for spending beyond basic operations like printer ink and office supplies. Now zoom back to Dalton, $65,000 parked in a miscellaneous account with no receipts, no itemization, and no explanation, and that's just what's visible. Rumors suggest there are even more funds tucked away under vague labels. And all of it under Tiffany Henyard's control. This isn't normal. It's not even close. In most municipalities, elected officials don't get to self-authorize their own spending without checks and balances. But in Dalton, the mayor seems to have created a shadow funda, personal piggy bank dressed up in municipal language. The contrast is stark, where other mayors answer to their boards, their auditors, and ultimately their voters. Tiffany Henyard answers to no one. She's rewritten the rules of local governance into a reality show, and your tax dollars are footing the bill. And let's be honest, The lack of structure isn't just bad governance. It's dangerous, because when one person can spend tens of thousands with zero oversight, it opens the door for misuse, fraud, and corruption. Whether it's unpaid banner vendors or fishing wire wigs, it all leads back to one glaring question. How did this system ever get approved? Dalton isn't a big city with complex budgeting needs. It's a small community, one where every dollar counts, and every wasted expense hits someone's water bill or police response time. There's no justification for this level of budgetary chaos. And what happens when that free spending authority finally runs out? Let's just say it doesn't end with a budget meeting. Here's the part that really gets disturbing. Not just what's in the budget, but what's missing in any normal town, especially one with a six-figure miscellaneous line item. You'd expect a detailed financial trail, invoices, receipts, contracts, documents that show where your tax dollars are going. But in Dalton, under Mayor Tiffany Henyard, that trail is either invisible or intentionally buried. Vendors who printed those infamous streetlight banners, still unpaid. The company allegedly behind her fishing wire wig. No public invoice. The concrete barricades moved in the middle of the night to sabotage a local car show. No contract, no paper trail, no accountability. And when residents and reporters file FOIA Freedom of Information Act requests trying to get a glimpse of where this money went, they're met with delays, excessive redactions, or flat-out silence. Some requests linger for months. Others are answered with stacks of blacked-out PDFs that reveal nothing but contempt for transparency. This isn't just mismanagement, it's a deliberate walling off of public information. And that's where things start to smell less like incompetence and more like a cover dash up. Meanwhile, Tiffany continues to inflate roles within her own administration. She gives herself multiple titles, drawing multiple salaries. She justifies six-figure line items with vague excuses like beautifying downtown, without ever explaining how the money was spent or why the beautification hasn't materialized. And for every vanity purchase or sketchy contract, there's a missing document, a delayed FOIA response, or a story that just doesn't add up. This is precisely the kind of environment where fraud thrives. No oversight, no records, no transparency. That's the perfect storm. And it's exactly the kind of thing that draws the attention of state auditors, attorneys general, or even federal investigators. Because when a mayor can disperse tens of thousands of dollars with no documentation, it opens the door to not just poor leadership, but criminal conduct. We're talking embezzlement, wire fraud, obstruction, all real possibilities if even one financial trail reveals wrongdoing. And if these funds were intermingled with federal grants or public safety allocations, the consequences go from serious to seismic. And yet, here we are still wondering where the money went, still waiting for someone to step in. Because the real question isn't just how much was misspent, it's whether anyone will actually do something about it. And that leads us to the final chapter, the question of consequences. At the center of all this chaos is a simple budget line, miscellaneous, $65,000, no receipts, no itemization, no accountability. Just a vague number buried in a spreadsheet, waved off with lines like, "It's for something I might want to do downtown." That's not budgeting. That's not leadership. That's not how public money is supposed to work. We've walked through vanity banners never paid for, a $1,200 wig allegedly funded by taxpayers, and a series of unpaid vendors who are still chasing their checks. We've looked at triple budgets for the same maintenance work, inflated salaries, and unanswered FOIA requests. Every corner of this financial maze leads to one thing: Mayor Tiffany Henyard's total lack of transparency now. Whether all of this is the result of sloppiness, arrogance, or something more sinister remains to be seen. But when patterns emerge like multiple budgets for the same expense or public funds disappearing into thin air, the line between incompetence and intentional deception starts to blur. This isn't just political drama. This is a story about power unchecked. About a mayor who treats public funds like a personal wallet and assumes no one will notice when the numbers don't add up, but someone always notices. And once the questions start piling up, the audits follow. The subpoenas come, the press digs deeper. Because when the books don't add up, someone eventually starts flipping pages, And when they do, those miscellaneous millions might finally get found. Seen anything yet? We're diving deeper into Dalton's vanishing dollars, and you'll want to see what comes next. So like, subscribe, and share this with someone who pays taxes. Because corruption this loud, it deserves to be heard.